Who was flickering the lights? Nosferatu!
Nosferatu. Okay, I've got to get something off my chest. I only saw this film because of that SpongeBob meme. Do you know what? Hands up. Hands up. I'm the worst. I'm the worst. You know what? Shout out SpongeBob one time because I'm glad I saw this thing. Because Gothic horror? Let's have it. What an underutilized genre of horror film. I mean, as someone who watches so many horror films a year, I'm so sick and tired of those, oh, there's a ghost in my gaff type films. I mean, we all know the ones where a family moves into a house, the youngest child starts chatting to a ghost, they get their dumbass possessed, and then they kill the ghost with a love. I mean, is anyone still rating the Conjuring series? I mean, oh, there's another one! How is there another one? They just keep churning them out. You know, me personally, I feel like I want to invest in the Gothic horror genre. I mean, right now, it's as relatable as ever. Times are bleak out here in the UK. I mean, I practically feel like a Victorian peasant. So these films, like, are basically reflecting my life. I mean, the cost of living crisis here is like, you breathe, you pay. You blink, you pay. You come, you pay. And let's just say I've been racking up quite the bill. I think for Nosferatu, there's 3 things that make this film really good. And the first thing is Nosferatu himself. I mean, in this, he's kind of scary. He got my teeth chattering Scooby-Doo settings. And I think the thing that makes him so good is that he's like a 4-dimensional character. And it's a common theme in Gothic fiction that the villains have got some kind of heart and motive. You know, they've got some kind of human justification behind their villainous ways, such as unrequited love or the ostracization from society. When comparatively more modern horror tales are, the motivation behind the villains is basically just that of some YouTube pranksters from 2010. I mean, look at the ghosts and ghouls in The Conjuring. I mean, or they're just literally pranking the inhabitants of the house that they're in, They're literally like slamming the door prank. It feels like, it's a prank, bro, it's a prank. I'm imagining something like GhoulTube, where there's tons of videos of like door slamming prank gone wrong at preschool. And I mean, if we're going to tip our hat to Nosferatu, we've got to tip our hat to the actor who plays him, which according to Letterboxd is Bill Skarsgård. But can we get a VAR check on that? Because I don't actually believe that's him. I mean, what a wild transformation. I mean, I literally can't tell he's in there. I mean, can you? I think the second thing that makes this film so effective is the setting and ambience. It's set in this like snowy mountain woodland with huge medieval castles and a really interesting medieval village. And I think it strikes this really interesting balance between being claustrophobic but also grandiose and awe-inspiring at the same time. I think that lends itself well to the villain of Nosferatu or Dracula, in that it feels like he's in every tiny space, every tight corner and of every like house in the village, but it also feels like he's humongous and he's everywhere and he's colossal. I mean, they don't call him Vlad the Impaler for nothing. Let's just put it that way. But yeah, the cinematography in this is absolutely brilliant. I really enjoy it. The colour palette of this film is like an evil Wes Anderson film. It's like if you made Wes Anderson make a film but took away all his colours, this is kind of what you'd come out with. It's very sinister and menacing, but also really hauntingly beautiful at the same time. So I guess got to tip my hat to the director, Robert Eggers. I mean, dude looks like he's about to serve me the middest £15 burger of my life and a coffee in a plant pot. I mean, just looking at him, bro's flannel collection is absolutely wild. And he's about to tell me about his home-brewed IPA that he's got going in his bathtub. He's just absolutely that bloke. But I think the third thing that makes this film so effective is the simplicity of the story. And this is controversial because I've seen a lot of people don't like how handcuffed Eggers is to the original source material of Dracula, but do you know what? I enjoyed it. I actually think it's a plus because, I'm not a Letterboxd tryhard who's got their top 4 films as silent black and white French films filmed on an iPod Nano, I kind of like that with the Victorian dialogue and intense setting. I mean, I think the simple storyline allows this to breathe and the horror and tension to build. You know, I think if you got a bit too arty farty with it, that in my opinion some of Eggers' other films suffers from, you kind of lose any kind of intrigue and tension or anything. You just feel like, what on earth is going on? It's just absolute madness. Whereas this, like, the slow build and sinister tension created by like the ever looming presence of Nosferatu throughout the film is always scary. And I think that will be completely lost if this film just went batshit insane like a lot of his other films do. So I really think the simplicity of the story is a plus. And yeah, a lot of people are going to disagree with that. Now on to the downsides. I mean, I went to go see this with my mum because she loves Gothic fiction. And, you know, as with other Robert Eggers films I've seen, I should have seen it coming, but there's a lot of weird sex shit in this, man. He just can't help himself. I mean, the opening 5 minutes of this film is just sensual moaning. I mean, nice one, Rob, mate. Cheers. That is absolutely excruciating with your mum. I mean, this is like any Robert Eggers film is like elite level grandparent watching, in my opinion. If you want to put your grandma in peril or eclipse your granddad to dust and collect some well-earned inheritance money, just throw on one of this fool's films. I mean, it's like the reverse of a Victorian child eating a Starburst. I mean, boomers just can't handle this kind of like sex on TV and the weird sex scenes. But I think for me, when he does it, it's just like he does it for arty because it's arty farty. You know, he's doing it because it's French, an art house. You know, it just doesn't really contribute to the underlying fear factor. It just kind of broke the tension for me every time. I was like, oh, okay, they're just doing an over the top sex scene just to kind of for the artiness of it. And he always does it. There's always some naked bloke rambling and raving around and running around. What all fours? I mean, what? You can't have a day off. Have a day off, Rob, mate. Genuinely. And I think at times that kind of broke the mounting tension and fear factor a little bit, or it could have been better done. I just thought it was like, I mean, no slight to Lily Rose Depp. She really committed to the character and was really great, in my opinion. Just, something, it just got a bit arty-farty for me. And, but that's just for me. I'm sure other people would really enjoy that. I mean, I didn't like Poor Things by that Yorgos bloke for the same reasons, you know. It just felt like it was just trying to be arty for the sake of it. It's just like, we're gonna throw in weird sex stuff just because it's a bit Euro. That was kind of the only downside for me. I think, really good film. I was really impressed. And I can't wait for more upcoming Gothic horror films in cinema. I think it's a really interesting genre. And looking on Letterboxd now, there's a new Frankenstein film with Christoph Waltz. Oh, well, isn't that a delight? Wunderbar.